Oh, man. Big
Boom. All right, my man, you gotta take me from the beginning. We both Tulsa boys, as far as I know, right? Mm-hmm. And I ended up meeting you when we were. Let's see here. It was in the winter of '99.
How do you remember that?
Listen, now, I'm good like that. So we're both in the 5th grade. That would make me. I'm roughly about 3 weeks older than you. So I'm 10. We're 10 years old, basically. Mm-hmm. That's as far back as I go, but even that now is what, like 23 years?
33, yeah.
So tell me about life before 10 years old, man.
A lot of soccer and a lot of basketball. That was basically all I did, was be in a soccer field and then get off the field and get straight on the basketball court. And I was usually playing like rec league. I think we were at Nathan Hale's where we played majority of our basketball leagues. It was just like a local league around town.
The Ranger League?
Yeah, the Ranger League.
Hear about it.
Rodney Clark was actually played on that team.
All right.
He was actually didn't play on our team. He gave me my first loss. Yeah. I remember I cried like a baby.
And he's a year younger than you.
He was, yeah. That's why I cried. Yeah. That was my 5th grade year. But ever since then, we was running every game, and then soccer, I played on this team called the Stars. And I was a defender, so I was back there just bruising kids because I was a little bit bigger at the time.
Right. Okay, so whose idea was soccer? And the reason I'm asking that is because that doesn't necessarily align with most basketball players in the inner city. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whose brainchild was that? Was that mom? Was that pops? Was that you?
I think it was a combination of me and my mom.
Okay.
Dad was always football, basketball.
Yeah, meat and potatoes.
Yeah, he was kind of towards that. So my mom was one of the ones who was worried about, playing contact sports. She was a little bit more cognizant of that.
Yeah.
So soccer is where it was for me, and I loved it. I mean, honestly, a lot of the things that are translatable, or transferable, I guess, in basketball and soccer, certain angles you cut and certain things like that, they all kind of have a relatability there. So I always enjoyed, being able to get on the basketball court and know exactly what a give and go is, because I just did it on the soccer field. Only difference is you're using your hands and your feet. So
that's a pretty good breakdown. But I need you to dispel something for me. Is it just running nonstop when you're on that soccer field? Or is there some stopping and some starting taking place, depending on the positions of it? Because I have no knowledge of the positions.
So, for me, at the age, the field wasn't very big.
Okay.
It isn't very big at those smaller ages. So, there's a little bit more ripping and running, But as you get older and the field gets bigger, it's a little more. You get a few rests, a few stops, just because the ball has to cross a certain, has to go from here to there. And it takes a few passes to get there. So if you're not even remotely in that area, you got a few seconds, but only a matter of time before action popping off and you're back in it. So
back locked in.
Yeah. But I enjoyed it though. That was really what got me amped about basketball. It's just because of the conditioning. It's just you got to be able to keep up.
For sure. So, how long did you play before you specified?
So 8th grade. Mom, Dad sat me down. Was like, it's either basketball or soccer. Like every family, you got too much going on. More than one sibling, more than one sport.
Right. Parents got to be two places at once.
That's what I'm saying. And the parents are trying to make all they can happen for you. So
true that.
It's one of those deals where it's like, hey, we're going to try to figure this out. Which one do you like more? And obviously, for Oklahoma kids, and you think about scholarships, which one do you think you have more of a chance at? So, it was a no-brainer. I'm obviously going to pick basketball. But
were you thinking like that at that time, though? Because come on, man, scholarship didn't come into my mind until like teenage.
Fatherhood stepped in at the fatherhood put that imagery in your head. Hey, you got to think about long term. What do you want to do? You got a chance to get a scholarship. If you want to play basketball. Obviously, at the 8th grader, no one really knows if you're going to get a scholarship. So, but if it's a reality or something you want to try for, you might want to dedicate more of your time.
Right.
And so that's where we were at. And made the right decision, fortunately.
Yeah, man, no doubt. So, did you take off pretty fast though, in terms of being good early in soccer and basketball too, for that matter? Like, or was it a slow grind before you developed?
Soccer was a little bit more of a slow grind because I was so familiar with one position. Towards my older years, they kind of started moving to another position because I had a little bit more size on me. So, you go from this position to that position, try to get an advantage there. So that was a kind of a learning curve because you have to, the position I was at was midfielder. So there's a little bit more facilitation and knowing where everybody is and how you advance the ball and, how to put the ball in certain spots for only, your teammates can get it. So that took a little bit more skill for me. But basketball-wise, I would definitely say slower. Definitely slower. It was great, beating rec league kids.
Yeah.
And then you step out and realize that basketball is much bigger than Nathan Hale High School and Saturdays.
Levels to it.
Complete different levels to it. And then all of a sudden you're exposed to, you got to get better, And so I would say probably, 8th, 9th grade, where it really started to, we continuously got better. We was always around competitive people like yourself, Marcus Wilson, Chris Pete.
Right.
Shout out to them.
The Ronald Shaws.
The Ronald Shaws. That's what I'm saying. Shout out to Ron. Yeah. It's just being around all those people who were also tougher. I was middle class.
For sure.
My mom's a teacher.
Likewise.
My dad's a police officer. They did a great job of trying to keep me away from certain things that, they were probably more than likely exposed to. But that also made them a lot more tougher in a lot more aspects of life than it did me. And for basketball specifically, you could see that in how they played as opposed to me. And so that was something I had to kind of adjust to and be able to keep up with. Not necessarily had to mimic, but be able to, tolerate. So
that's a great point, man. I was telling somebody a couple of weeks ago, this is just my own little theory. I think that some people have a personality that translates, from off the court, on the court. They don't really have to make much adjustments. They can, if you're edgy like that and you're naturally loud and rough,
that's always going to carry you.
Yeah, you don't have to change anything. But guys like you and I, we're a little more mild-mannered, a little more soft-spoken. Can't necessarily be like that when it's time to compete.
Yeah.
So it took a minute to find that alter ego, so to speak.
It's like, I remember that story, we were in Arkansas, and that one of the kids called me a name, and I
remember that.
And I handled it completely soft, to say it lightly.
Yeah. I remember that. But you see, that was soft by somebody else's standard. Did you feel like that was the way to do it in that moment, or are you calling yourself soft in hindsight now?
Both.
Okay.
Both of it, because at the time we had a little bit more flexibility in our language and how we express ourselves. I would think.
Put that politician.
Yeah, I would like to think we did.
Yeah. And
in that moment, I think I could have exercised it, and I chose not to, and I think that's what played in the part as to, But that was a mindset deal, It's like you're too scared to push the edge, take that extra step, express yourselves in that way. And, when you cower like that,
people can see it.
People can see it, especially the competitive ones, I'm going to eat his lunch.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's going to get worse for him.
Golly.
And it didn't that game, fortunately, but it could have, and that's something I had to adjust to, so.
Speaking of, rough and rugged and all of those different words, talk about your football stint, because I remember you talking about, we never really went in depth about that, even off the record, about how it was, because you did play football, right? I did.
4th and 8th grade. 4th and 8th grade.
Not 4th through, right?
No. 4th and 8th.
Okay, so how was that?
4th grade, I didn't know what I was doing. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I had no idea what I was doing. Just out there, it's peer pressure too. It's the 4th grade. You still got time. Why not get out there, see what it's like? Got my bell rung by, I think it was Corey Stewart at the time.
Oh yeah, and he
was a football player. Yeah, he was about that action in football. Yeah, so I got my bell rung by him. Was like, we're done here. So gave it another 3 years, and like 8th grade, went to Cassia Hall, and at that time, Cassia Hall was known for football. They won state championships like every other year, every 2 years, every year, something like that. So they were mainly football. So my first year there, everyone's football. I'm thinking, why not? Everybody else is on the AU team has at least played it a few more years. 8th grade, I still got time. Why not? Let's go out there. Outside linebacker. Still, again, no idea what I was doing. And yeah, after that, called it in. There was a kid from like Pawnee or somewhere. I think he probably ended up at OU or OSU. Went up for a mid route, put my hands up, caught it. As soon as I landed, bam! Just,
Did you hold on to the rock?
no, hell no.
Absolutely.
Hell no.
Dislodged it like a
Pops, we get in the car, and Dad looks at me and goes, "You got your ass laid out."
And listen, for those who don't know your dad, he's very much that way.
Honest. He's
Right
very
there.
honest, especially with his own.
Yeah. So you finished that season, all right?
Finished the season and said, "Hell no, we're done.
Oh, okay.
We're done. I'm a basketball player. I've learned my lesson. We're basketball." So
Straight up. And see, there's still a piece of me that wishes I would have played when I had the option to. You see, your mother and my mother was sort of similar in like not really loving the idea of playing
and getting hit.
early on. Yeah, because of that. But see, when I was in the 5th grade, that's when I really wanted it. I wanted it so bad I could taste it. Mom was like, wait till next year, wait till middle school. Now, I don't know if she knew that she was going to wait me out, but a year later when it was my choice.
Yeah, it was time to back out. Yeah, by that time you'd already.
Yeah, but I wasn't traumatized. I just was like, you know what? I think I know where my bread is buttered, and I wasn't that great in the gym. So I said, we're going to stay right.
We're going to
Climate
get better
control.
at that.
You know. Okay, so your middle school stint, it was sort of, you went to Carver for 2 out of the 3 years, right?
Yeah.
Your 6th and 7th grade year,
yeah.
then you made the transition to Cassia. Man, talk about what went into that. I'm always fascinated to hear those breakdowns because I've only been a transfer student one time, and that was when it was time to leave junior college. You see what I'm saying? So, but I happened to, we were in the same grade at the same school at the same time, so I didn't necessarily see that coming.
Yeah, so honestly, I don't necessarily who approached us from Cassia, but it was an opportunity that was presented our way. Mm-hmm. Obviously, at that point, I was 8th grade, getting pretty good at basketball, starting to figure it out. In Cassia Hall, actually, R.I.P. Aaron Alford, he had just passed the year previously, and he was a freshman at that time. And then while they were there, and they had that experience, there was a whole lot of, I don't know about bringing in more basketball players, especially freshmen, just not want to go through that again because it's a really traumatizing experience.
Yeah.
When you just all of a sudden go through something like that and lose, somebody so young. There's a whole lot of I don't know, hesitation there. And
folks don't want to touch that.
Right. And obviously, like I mentioned previously, it was middle class. We're middle class, so Cassia was a school that cost a little bit outside of our range at the time. So they were working on some sort of program, I suppose. I don't necessarily know the ins and outs of it. There was like a scholarship program where they, knock off a certain percentage, but
to allow you to go there.
Right, but at the same time, it was conditional. My father, as you know, is a police officer, would also work a lot of those Cassia Hall football games and basketball games there to help with that scholarship. So he would do the security for a lot of events as well. And it kind of worked out in our way, but
nice little barter.
Right.
I never knew that.
Yeah, and it was actually worked out to where eventually where Ashley would be able to get there, where she was there as well. So. Although she wasn't there long, she was there. So
I never knew that either. And for, Ashley is your sister, your younger sister.
Right.
Never knew that she went there.
Yeah, she was there for maybe a year, year or two tops, but not very long. So, but you get an experience, you get an opportunity to go to a private school, and it's taken care of through a scholarship fund or some sort of worked out deal, which is probably still going on today,
right? Even
more so than it was then. But you gotta take it. It's a chance for a higher education. I'm not the smartest crayon. I'm not.
You're not, or you weren't.
Weren't. Still not.
Still not.
Still not.
Now see, now you're making me go off script because what are some of the differences? Not just the differences, but the pros and the cons. Public school versus private school. I only have one experience, so I guess my view is probably skewed on that.
There's a few differences, honestly. It was another life for me because, we basketball people in middle class, we're just going to do all the stuff we can to get these kids better education. Sometimes it doesn't allow for a lot of vacation time or a lot of vacation funds in general. So everything we were doing was tied up in basketball. If we had an extra day, we, obviously go hit the park here or there, do a little extra. But at Cassia, it's just the amount of a lot of comfortable families.
Yeah.
Extremely comfortable families that own lake houses, and I'm an 8th grader. I didn't know people had more than one house, and then I get to the lake house and it's bigger than my house, and that's your second house,
Yeah.
That's not even the main one.
Wowzers.
And so that's one of the biggest, at least from the private school, is just getting exposed to just a different lifestyle. But on the public side, it's more real world experiences. You're dealing with different personalities, different kids, it's a whole different walk of life that's more common, and more prevalent than you would see at a private school. At private school, you're wearing all uniforms, everything's kind
more of a controlled environment.
It's a controlled environment. Certain things are broken up certain ways. Public school is a little bit more freedom. I mean, I ended up at Union.
Yeah.
We had off-campus lunch. It was my first time even hearing about it.
Y'all didn't have off-campus lunch at Cassia?
No.
Oh, wow.
They had you in the cafeteria. Your lunch was, it was this, it was this, it was this. It changed every day. And it wasn't even that really that good, which also was kind of irritating. But
yeah.
You paying that much, you expect to have a little bit, but that's neither here or there. But
right. So you were at Cassia for 3 years, right?
8th, 9th, and 10th. Yeah.
Okay. So, no, you were playing varsity as a freshman.
Yep.
At Cassia.
I've been varsity. Fortunate enough to be varsity my whole 4 years of high school.
Yeah, man. So, can you remember that moment when you got introduced to the varsity level? Whether it was at practice or if it was at individual workouts or if it was in a game, one of those moments where something happened either to you or near you that was like, oh, I'm here now.
Yep. So we're in my dad's hometown, Okmulgee. And it's my freshman year, and they have a heavily loaded senior year team. And senior. And they're all like the guys.
Yeah.
And I'm playing as a freshman. I'm starting. I'm getting minutes. And my matchup is, the guy for them. He's averaging 15, 20. I forgot his name. But that was my first. And freshman, keep in mind, freshman Derrick is skinny. He's slender. He's tall, but not, he doesn't have it figured all out yet.
Right.
You can easily body him if you needed to.
Knock you right off your
Right. And that's exactly what happened for the full game. It was just, I think he ended up he may have probably had 20, 25 on me by the end of that night.
You got above his average, huh?
I mean, and it was a collective, it looked like Jason Tatum out there. You get this look, you get that look, you get this look, and you get that one. And it was just, yeah. And coach is yelling at me, do something. And I'm looking at him like,
I'm fresh out of bullets, coach.
I don't know what else you can do here. Like, I'm just getting toasted. Like, it's just going to be, we're just going to ride this out, and you're just going to chalk it up to a loss and move on to the next game. So
y'all end up losing that one?
Oh, yeah. It was like a 15-point loss. That was a long, quiet ride home.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was bad. But, I'd say this all the time, but every kid needs to go through one of those moments, and I hope that they get a chance to go through them early rather than later, because there's always somebody shooting more shots than you. There's always somebody who's getting more reps. There's always somebody who's spending more time than you, and if you're able to see just how drastically different that experience is early on, then you get time, to address that, I got my ass busted. I need to get in the weight room. You got 3 more months to do it, rather than you not do it or found out late and you possibly missed your freshman, sophomore year, junior year.
You had to waste a year before you figured it out.
Right. And so that's why I'm big on our 8th graders now about getting those experiences now. It's just figure this out now so you don't have to waste a year of your high school going through it. So
because all of them want to go to a situation where they can play early.
They all do.
They say.
Yeah, so they say. Yeah, they all want to try to get to them, and that's every kid too. Especially in today's times, how the transfer and NIL. It's about me going in and actively contributing as soon as possible. What can I do to make that happen? So
first thing you do is be ready.
Right, that's the first step, and a lot of kids don't have that figured out yet.
True that. Well, speaking of being ready, did you have good veterans in your senior class as a freshman when you were at Cassia? Guys that could bring you along?
I had one guy, Ernie Anderson, who, shout out to Ernie. He's in Georgia, I believe, right now.
He's about 2 years older than you?
He was 2 years older than us. Me and him necessarily, we were always cordial and friends, but our playing styles were a little bit different. He was a little bit more isolation, I need the ball at this time, and I was a little bit more off the ball, but sometimes would be young and be a little bit young and keep it a little. So,
Yeah.
you have to kind of balance that out, of trying to understand, all right, when's stability needed and when, try to bring some energy. And that was always something that we always kind of tussle with. But that's also what made us better because
those contrasting styles.
yes, you got to deal with that, on the other end of that. So that was always good for him to just kind of be around and then especially all of my seniors were both football and basketball players at Cassia. So they were doing both. For me, I'm just in the gym. So, for that dual guy who's probably maybe he's going to get some minutes. Well, this freshman came in who's all about basketball and he happens to be pretty good. You may not see those minutes no more. So,
any friction because of that?
I'm sure there were some parents or some kids that may have said something off the record or somebody else, but I can't.
Didn't get to you, huh?
I'm not gonna. Not my problem.
It is what it is.
That's what I'm saying. I was playing, so.
Listen, and that's exactly the way it should be. That's a whole different segment. Okay, so when you get into your sophomore year, which is arguably, in my experience as a coach, I think the sophomore year might be the most frustrating year for a 4-year varsity kid, because you think from the experiences that you gathered being in the battles as a freshman that you cut your teeth, and we're gonna see a drastic difference next year. Not necessarily the case. You know what I mean? I've seen a pattern where they start to bloom and blossom when they get around about junior year. So that was your sophomore year.
The exact opposite, actually.
You figured it out.
Because all the seniors had left. So at that point, it's me, I'll say Ernie at that point. Ernie, myself, and then we had Will Jones, Will Pruitt, and a couple other guys. Sam Stewart, remember Sam?
Stewart, good dude.
Pat Cullinan. Some guys that could play. They were playing. They weren't football players, but they regularly played basketball. They knew what they were doing. They could contribute. Our sophomore year, we took off. We were just cruising through everybody. We maybe lost maybe like 4 games, and one of those was in the state quarters to a guy who hit his second 3 of the game as a game winner against us. He'd only made 2 threes that whole year, and one of them was on us as a half court heave.
Biggest one.
And it killed us.
Who was it? I mean, maybe not. You may not remember the kid, but who was the team that beat y'all? And y'all got to the state. That's pretty good.
Valiant, I think.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it was somebody. Hugo. Ida Bell. It was Ida Bell.
Okay.
It was Ida Bell.
Got y'all, and it was over with, huh?
Yep, it was Ida Bell. It was Ida Bell.
See, he laughing because he got a little familiarity.
Yep, it was Ida Bell.
I really, of course, when you first went to Cassia Hall as an 8th grader, I didn't understand the move. But I was also a kid, so I probably wasn't supposed to understand it. But, I remember me and my dad, we came and watched a couple of your games as a freshman and early in your sophomore season. But see, my first year playing varsity was as a sophomore, so I couldn't come and maneuver like I wanted to. But I was like, yo, it looks like he's finding his footing over here. But then another pivot comes, and you leave Cassia Hall to go to Union after your sophomore year. How, why, what went into that decision?
There was a multitude of reasons, honestly.
Okay.
And I can't necessarily specifically remember one of them, but it was just a lot of change at the time, and just my sister was growing up and just becoming her own person. I at the time got a lot of influence on, oh, you down there in 4A, y'all ain't playing nobody 3A. And you sophomore or junior, you like, man, I'm getting tired of this talk.
Right.
And at that
suggesting
time,
that you can't, stomp with the big dog.
And my sophomore year, we lose in the quarterfinals. We're expecting to get an invite to the Tournament of Champions. That's one of the tournaments I never got to play in.
I didn't either, man.
And I'm still salty about it to this day.
Yeah.
But I never got to play in that tournament, and that's something I always wanted to do, was play in that tournament. And so I figured after my sophomore year, well, we're going to be playing in that tournament. And we're in the quarterfinals. Look, they're a team. We're stacked.
Come on now.
Didn't get in.
Yeah.
So at that point, I'm thinking, based on that, my sister, just becoming her own thing, and maybe Cash not being a good fit for her, and then me also listening to other people and thinking about the opportunities at Union, which, by the way, turned out to be a great decision. So it's not like it's, that was a bad decision, because I loved every minute I was at Union.
Yeah.
But it was just time to kind of make a switch. And one of the reasons that I think that ended up being so successful is because it forced me to evolve again. I had just gotten comfortable. I had just known who I was with. Now all of a sudden you get thrown in 6A with 940 something, I think, graduating. And that's what graduated. That's not who all was there, and who all was walking the halls, and that's just my class. That's what I'm saying. That's one class, and so I'm changing. Not just on the basketball court, but as a person too, just because I'm having to step outside my comfortable zone and meet another set of people after I just met a completely different set of people than I did at Carver.
Public, private, back to public.
Like it's a switch. I'm just doing a lot here, so. That evolution, I think, was really what made it all worth it, just from that standpoint. So,
was your role different on the basketball court once you got to Union, in comparison to what it was when you were at Cassia the previous year?
Yeah, I was a little bit more of a focal point, but at the same time, we had Dominique Franks and Matt Romine, both football stars that were also basketball players as well.
They demanded a lot of attention.
Marcus Peel, who was athletic, he just transferred from Booker T, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, he had transferred out from Booker T.
Justin Glenn was with you
Justin Glenn was there. Tommy Becker.
Yeah.
Mike Driver.
TJ
Williams. I'm saying. So there was a little bit more of a focal point, but it was a lot. We had a lot there, but it was 6A, so that's what it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. But then as the season went on, Dominique decided to step out of football step out of basketball, concentrate on football, and then step back in. So it was a little bit of
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, it was a little bit of an up and down that year, but we held on enough to make the state finals. So
yeah, man. Remember that. Got the state finals against Putnam City, right?
Yep. Keith Clark and
Brandon Jackson was
Brandon
on that team.
Jackson, yep. Xavier Henry.
And
his brother is on the team too, I think, CJ. At the time. I think his brother was on that team that year. And I can't think of whether
CJ graduated in 05 or 06. If it was 06, he was on that team.
I think he was on 6. Okay. I think we played both of them.
Xavier was a young pup then, freshman, probably.
But he was the problem.
Yeah, he was.
He was a problem. Yeah, so shout out to that team.
Since we own it, man, talk about that game, dog. Because, not very many people get to play for championships. Yeah. Especially a state championship. And you're in the largest class in the state of Oklahoma, which is one step below junior college, right?
Right.
In your first year over there, dog, you in the state finals, man. How was that going into it?
I mentally tricked it off. I'm not even going to lie to you.
You did?
Okay. And not in the sense that I played bad, but I didn't grab, how you just labeled that, that's what I missed in my high school year that I didn't grasp. And I don't think that I should have. If I had a little bit more, and maybe that's just me being naive and just thinking I'm gonna be back here next year, so I don't give a easy that's what I'm saying. Once you get here, then you're oh yeah, I'm coming back here. There's no way I'm not. Yeah. So, and maybe that played a part in it too. But honestly, I didn't take it as with the amount of intensity, mental focus as I probably should have, and I still played an all right game, but. At the same time, shout out to that Putnam City team. That was a lot.
They were loaded, man.
That was a lot.
They were tough.
I don't even think if I even had that mental focus. I don't know if I would have had enough to, to cover that. So,
in my opinion, they were the toughest team
hands down
in the state that year in any class. You know what I mean? But you got there, right?
I got there. I tried it. It didn't work out my way. But honestly, that's what helped me out. Taking shit for granted can't happen. Not understanding the severity of certain situations and where you are at certain times. That stuff you can't miss. So
okay, so before we transition to your senior year, which I know that's like snatching a Band-Aid off too.
Yeah, it's been rough.
We gotta talk about one particular game. Yeah, man. So. It's right before the holiday break. It's y'all's first, right? Y'all's first tournament that you hosted at Union, right? The John Q. Hammonds Arena. And y'all in the semifinals of your own tournament, and you line up against the Tulsa Central Braves. Your boy in there. And so we play you guys, man. I remember our rotation tightened up to 6, maybe 7. And we went to 2 overtimes. And I'm glad it stopped there because I had no more gas left. The ashiest lips in the facility. You know what I mean? And so
all of us gassed.
I don't even remember much about that game, to be honest with you, except for the last shot that ended up winning the game. Right? And so we ended up beating y'all guys.
Chris Watson, wasn't it?
Chris
Yeah,
Watson.
Chris
Yeah.
Watson.
Yeah, and then they stole it from you, didn't he?
What?
Ain't that how it went?
Was it? I don't remember.
I remember you had the ball last, and then somehow we ended up with it. You know what I mean?
That'll eat me up if that's what happened.
Listen, man, it may be revisionist history, but in
That's
my
what I'm
mind,
saying.
it was you. Because you was the guy. But
It could have been. That'll hurt. That'll hurt.
Man, what do you remember about that game? Because I don't even bring that up to be braggadocious. That's one of the best games that I've participated in as a player that I can remember.
I remember that game vividly.
Oh, you do?
Because I was giving y'all problems.
Fair enough.
Like, it was a very good game for me against y'all. So I remember everything that's going on. I'm thinking, we got to come away with this. We're knocking down free throws. We're making the extra play. We're doing this. We're doing that. But
I had everybody, too.
But, like what I was saying earlier, there's a certain time where mental focus and mental toughness kicks in. You know, and certain players have a certain fortitude to withstand that opposed to others. That's why y'all hung on the whole game. I mean, y'all was in it the whole time with us. And like you said, maybe it was me. Maybe it was me who maybe coughed that up at the last second. But even then, that chalks it up to your point. You know, being able to finish out, close out games is what matters most. And honestly, like, to this day, I think we probably had the more talented team.
Yeah, you did. You did.
I think,
and y'all had more depth with that talent.
Right.
We only played 7 or 8 all year.
And I thought, you know,
Y'all could have went like 10.
And I thought we was, you know, doing what we were supposed to do, but y'all were hanging on, making the right plays when you needed to, and just that heave goes up and it goes in, and I just,
Man.
Anyway, now I know I gotta hear it because I know 3 of y'all on my AAU team, so I'm gonna see y'all next week.
That's right. That's right. And I wasn't even a noise talker, but your dad. He wasn't even on your side either.
Hell no, he wasn't.
Would just poke. He just wants some shit to be talked. Whether it's me to you or you to me, he'd say, "Yo, you know, your boy Aaron them talking about make something up."
Then shout out to all dads that do that, by the way.
Oh yeah.
For all the parents out there that are always priding your kid and just saying, "Hey, I know so and so would be getting some shots outside right now.
Right.
I know so and so is out here getting better. What are you doing?"
Right.
So if you're at home playing video games, bro, you might want to take another look at that because it really does make you think about how big, you know, the game is, you know. And he always was, and he did that with everybody. And he was joking. It was a lot of jokes.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, as much as he was joking, there was a certain percentage that was, hey, you know, for real.
Yeah. He'd pit 2 guys together and then sit back like an evil genius. Just watch them tear each other apart.
I always did that. Him and when they used to do it with Ronald and Marcus, those used to be the most exciting. Because those two were best friends, but then when they would get a competition and be at blows with one another, you know, and that's when you really separate like basketball from like actual animosity with somebody.
Yeah, man.
You know, can you keep it with the same mind frame of basketball and competitiveness, or are you one of those mentally weak person that automatically spills over and you want to fight?
Yeah. All of a sudden we're not friends
anymore.
anymore.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. All of a sudden it's a problem now because you're getting your ass busted.
Yeah.
You know?
See, when you talked about you know your focus not grasping certain moments, that's still a big regret of mine from my high school days, like being too afraid of a potential confrontation with one of my loved ones, and that overtook my willingness to have that moment when I knew I needed to have it. Like if I'm a captain and you're slacking or you're not giving me what I know you got, instead of calling you out on it, I would just not say anything and hope you figure it out. You know what I mean? And that could end up with you laying on the floor crying after that last loss.
Yep.
You know, but I wasn't giving my guys credit enough to. Oh, sure enough, he's a big boy. He'll understand that it's not from an evil place. I never got to that point. No. But I'm there now.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's what it is. I mean, it's one of those, like, it's either you're going to step up to the occasion or you're not. You know, at the end of the day.
It's literally that cut and dry.
It's either you are or you're not.
Yeah.
And if you're not, look to your right. Because he do.
Kobe said that, man. Kobe said that. He was like, eventually you're going to run across a team with a leader who does not mind doing that, and you will lose.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you don't have it, then just step aside. Somebody on your team is going to, either they don't have it or they're going to go for it either way and have the gumption to try it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's something I tell them all my 8th graders. Go for it now.
Yeah. Was that gumption to try, or the lack thereof, would you say that was rooted in, like, fear or failure? Because it was for me.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely rooted in failure and looking like a jackass.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one of the things, because that's especially basketball culture. You see somebody get crossed, oh my God. You see somebody get dunked on, it's tough.
Yeah.
You know, and it's more common now. So, I mean, now it's just like it's going to be a couple minutes, but when you 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, you get put in.
That's tough, man.
It's gonna be a minute before you hear that. Jokes, the little memes, especially social media.
But here's the good news about in our era. Here's where we really weren't thinking about it right. But there was no such thing as social media.
Yeah.
So you had to be there.
But it was even more verbal abuse than that.
That's right. Yeah, we
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
The Trey McVays of the world.
I can't tweet you.
Nah.
Well, I'm gonna see you at practice. Oh, I can't.
But today though.
Oh yeah, nah. You catching it always.
That's tough. But this was crazy. If you play, the longer you play, if you play long enough at a high enough level, one of those two things, if not both of them, are gonna happen to you at some point. Somebody will hit you with a move and have you stumbling. If your luck is really bad, you're gonna go down.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or you're gonna get dunked on. I got dunked on one time. It was at practice. On
Dang. It was bad.
Yeah.
DeAndre Jordan. I tried to take. I don't know why, but they was obviously it's habits. You know, you try to teach to take the charge.
Yeah.
You know, you're supposed to do that.
You're competitive.
Right, but at some point I should have known not to.
Wasn't a good business decision.
It looked bad. Kind of like what he did to Homeboy.
Not Brandon.
It wasn't that bad.
Not Brandon Knight. Okay.
No, it wasn't that. Brandon jumped and it was like I took a charge and he still
flew over the top.
Yeah, it was nasty, but it wasn't Brandon Knight. It wasn't that bad. But
before we get to the college chapter, last high school chapter, your senior year at Union, y'all were undefeated the entire season, right? And I think that's an immense amount of pressure.
Until we lost.
Until you lost, yeah. I was gonna get there, but you went on there and just snatched the bandages off. But I think, man, it's something to be said about being as good when you're advertised to be that good. You know, it's easy when you're sneaking, not easy, but easier when you're sneaking up on people. But when you're coming through everybody's front door, meaning you show up 10-0, 15-0, you know everybody's circling you on the calendar. But y'all managed to get up to what,
23-1, I think.
23
or 22-1.
Well, was it 20 what and 0 before you lost?
We lost in the semis at state.
Okay, so let's just say for the sake of argument, y'all 23-0, and you lose game number 24. What's your psyche like going into every game? Are we thinking about winning, or are we thinking about just keeping the streak intact?
At the semis, or like in general during the season?
Throughout.
So throughout the season, it's keeping the win intact, because that's
so
like every senior. It's your last one.
Yeah.
You know, it's your last go around. And junior year, I just got to state finals. We lost. I got a sour taste in my mouth.
Yep.
I ain't trying to have this again. Let alone I got a father who's poking all the time. You know, not only in that instance, but with everything else. AAU, outsider, competition-wise, everything.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's your senior year. So, like, it's the last, you know what I'm saying? So, like, everything is leading up to this moment for me. So, I'm thinking I'm going out like a tyrant. I don't care. Like, we're going to win. We're going to figure this out, you know. And so I wouldn't say I was necessarily as bad as some of these other NBA players, like chewing people's ass out stuff, because my personality definitely wasn't that. But I'm definitely looking. I'm definitely side-eyeing. I'm definitely like, you're going to get this from me, like a whole lot of that my senior year. Like,
it's urgent now.
What you don't, like, come on, bro. Come on. This ain't working.
Right.
You know, so I was a little way more of a cognizant of how we were performing in those games and making sure we didn't lose, because that's the one thing
That's a fine line, I think, between playing free basketball, trying to win, versus you playing not to lose. And you can get real tight. You know what I mean, when it comes to that. And I never really understood the difference until I was done playing. Now I know what that looks like, and I definitely know what it feels like.
Well, at that point, though, for our strategy with that was pretty easy, because fortunately, not to knock on all the teams at that time during 6A, but we were running through our class pretty handily. You know, Jinx was close. Our closest competition, I think we were beating them by like maybe 6 to 10 on average, and they were still close games. So let's not knock it there. But that was about
rivalries.
That was about it. Broken Arrow every once in a while, but that necessarily wasn't there. as common. So it was one of those deals where it's like, let's beat this team as quickly as fast as possible. Like, if you got to get this done by the first half. We got to get this done by the first half.
Let's get this one over with.
That's what I'm saying. We got to get. That was the mindset. Let's get this done by the first half. And so that actually would helped us for a lot of games, especially when you think about pace and technique and just understanding the game of every possession matters. We got to box out. We got to do this. We got to do that. We got to do that. If they pan out 7 out of 10 times and the other team is struggling, you look up and we're up 14. It's working.
Yeah.
All you got to do is hold on. At that point, hold on.
Hold on. Was it more stressful than it was enjoyable going through that undefeated regular season?
I enjoyed it because it was a different challenge.
All right.
Up until this point, you're just playing basketball, right? You're hooping.
Yep.
It's us against you. You're gonna do your thing. I'm gonna do my thing. Whoever's gonna win is gonna win.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're playing not only to win but to not lose because you got something else, everything else changes. So for me, I'm thinking of the game a completely different way because that could be, the play that starts their run. You think about certain things like that. We're down 5 points, but all of a sudden you let their best shooter wide open for a 3. Thank God he misses it, but if he makes it,
boom.
Now we got to deal with that panic. And so that's
a run ensues.
Right, the run ensues. And so that's what I'm always was cognizant about is what can I do to make sure we don't have these kind of mishaps.
Right.
So I'm always going to be running across the court to make that extra. I was the guy who was commonly doing the extra play. If I do the extra rotation, if I was just here and I got to go there, then I'm going to go there.
It's done.
We're going to do what we need to do. Of course, I'm going to be mad about it. That shouldn't have been my rotation. But it is what it is. Like I ain't trying to lose. That's my last year. So.
And I want this title.
And I want this title. And that's what led to it. So it was an enjoyable senior year, but up until it ran short. It was too much for us again. So
and y'all lost in the semis, right? State semis?
Law Night.
It's a Law Night.
Eddie Jones and I forgot his name already.
What about that game, man?
Man, they had a solid strategy, then we just couldn't figure it out. It was a solid boxing one, and my immature self didn't have the knowledge to think outside the box as to how to deal with it because the one was on me. Mm-hmm. And so rather than trying to utilize myself in screen and roll situations or, be of use, I'm trying to figure this bad boy out because there's no way he can hold me, and I'm still walking away with, I think I had like maybe 12 or 14, but he did a great job too. So, but I'm still I'm trying just because that's your nature. You're young. I'm trying to go for it. I can do this.
Yeah.
I'm talented. I got the skills.
Right.
Rather than.
Okay.
But just play basketball, bro. Just set a screen for somebody. If they overplay it, then you might be open. Mm-hmm. If they don't overplay it, then they're open. Mm-hmm. Play the right way.
Go crash offensive glass. You can get all the touches.
Right. All that. Nah. I wouldn't think about none of that.
You're not alone in that, though. I'm pretty sure most kids probably would.
Yeah, I wish I was, though, because that probably would have made a difference. But
yeah,
you live and you learn. So
you do. And thinking about a guy like yourself, you already had you were hooked and booked in terms of what your next chapter was going to entail. You knew you were going to school and play ball at Texas A&M, right? You had committed your sophomore year, right?
Yep. Yeah.
That was sort of unconventional at that time, at least.
Very.
Per my experience, which I didn't have a lot of. But before we get to the college ranks, tell me about the AAU experience, man. Me and you, we played on the same team, the Tulsa Titans, right? From fifth graders, year 2000 through 2006, right? Same team, you know what I mean?
Shout out Tulsa Titans.
I'm telling you, man, we got to do it. And it was a different time during that time because, you had your few journeymen here and there, but today is, hey, you may see a kid in this uniform this weekend, entirely different program the next week, but it just wasn't like that during our time. So how was that for you, man? Your recollection of the whole AAU experience?
I loved it. It really truly put a competitive spirit in me because I love the Bulldogs.
Oh,
but
yeah.
that's who we were after,
Right. And yeah.
And that's just you always are looking at somebody to compare yourself to. Mm-hmm. And not necessarily as we need to do everything like them or a certain, but like where do you stand? Where you stand next to them? Are you competing? Are you below? Are you above? Where are you at?
Mm-hmm.
And with AAU, we're seeing these guys over here, and then we travel and we're playing our brand of basketball. Man, it was truly one of the best. That's the reason why I'm here.
Yeah,
you
man.
know, everything that I
Likewise.
have, everything I've done, all the experience I've had is all because I went through AAU basketball. If I didn't have that AAU basketball, I don't think we're here. I don't think none of this stuff exists.
Yeah, man.
So,
I gotta tell the story, dog. You already know where I'm going. The very first practice we had. Okay, so
hold up. That's who my dad is. This is just who my dad is.
this is who his dad is. First of all, like we at practice. On the first day we were putting in plays. We at McLean High School. That's where we used to always practice. And your dad would come in there fresh off the clock. And he wasn't even he was a homicide detective at that time. So he'd come in with the overcoat with the brim, like Indiana Jones.
Pull it off.
You know what I'm saying?
Undo the tie.
Yeah.
And
He might have had on the holster like Mike Lowry one time.
Then he started changing.
Yeah, but he came out there and I overheard something I wasn't supposed to be listening to. So you kept moving out of position, and we were trying to get this play down, and we were on take like 3, 4, 5, and I heard him say, "Listen, if you move again, I'm gonna slap you in front of everybody." And I was like, "Oh man, this coach here?"
Yes,
because he wasn't just your dad; he was one of the coaches.
He was the coach
throughout.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Man, you just don't escape at all." But I was like, "Yeah, this dude is not to be messed with."
Yeah. And honestly, I think he also did that to let not only parents but you guys, other guys, and my teammates know, like, it ain't just him. You know, it ain't just if I'm coming down on you. It ain't just you.
Yeah.
Look what I'm doing to my boy. Like,
That's right.
he getting it worse than you. So I don't want to hear none of this. You being hard on my son and none of that. I mean, everybody's getting it as if not the same, worse.
Yeah. That's
you
a
know.
fact, man.
So it was one. I think that's also what added to it. But that's what toughened us up. You know?
That's right. That's true.
You gotta learn to be disciplined, especially then.
And you had to have thick skin.
You have to. Coach Johnson, Coach Gillen, they won't let you none of that slip.
No.
You know, all the stuff nowadays where kids get to just kind of be loose for practice and, you know, blow the whistle. You know, you still dribbling while after he blew the whistle.
On the line.
Oh man. Oh no. We going up
We're
to
going up and around.
Up and around.
Practice will go from what? It can be 2 hours.
Yeah.
It could be 3 hours.
I know you
Never
heard me
know.
blow the whistle and we going. Let's go.
Yeah, man.
You know, and they would take up half of practice just because of that.
Oh yeah, but the parents bought in though.
Parents were on board with
Bought
that,
in.
but that set the standard from then on out.
Mm-hmm.
Because then it was you knew this every time it wasn't get, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And the times that you got called out for not hitting the line, you
Oh,
know,
my
but
God.
then we'd have to redo it. But
Yeah.
it would not stop until you did it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And however long that took is however long that took.
We're gonna be in it, man. And it's like, and your dad was pro confrontation, so he specifically would keep it going until somebody called somebody out.
Yeah, we're gonna have to figure this out.
Yeah, we had
You're
to have
accountable for your own actions.
Mhm.
You know, and that's
If he wanted to, he'd make you accountable for somebody else's actions.
right,
too.
right. And now I think we may be a little bit more cognizant of the fact that parents are paying and they're doing travel and, you know,
Trying to make it worthwhile for him.
well, yeah, right. We're all these things are considered nowadays in travel ball, let alone the fact that they're gonna go another avenue if they're not getting another, you know.
Yeah.
That wasn't necessarily. You had to endure with us or
Yeah.
with every team, really. If you was with if you weren't doing what you were supposed to do at Bulldogs or Supreme Court, you same thing.
Same thing. I'm gonna tell you what's really telling is neither one of us. You started off further ahead than I did, but neither one of us took off fast. We weren't high on the depth chart early on. So imagine if we came up with if we had the same plight as we did just in today. Think of how many teams we'd have to bounce around from, rather than having coaches that stayed and invested. In
Like
us.
we'd be with Coach
You know what I mean?
Baker. Remember Coach Baker?
Oh yeah.
Like we
Rest in
probably
peace to Coach
like
Baker, man.
if all the teams were upset about this how they're coaching and how they're hard on their child and they wanted to make a move. Coach Baker have an all-star team. RIP Coach Baker.
Yeah,
but
man.
he would. I mean, but that's just you have to figure this stuff out. Like
Yeah,
if
man.
you want to be playing basketball, here's your competition. Not alone that's your competition in your grade. You want to be playing high school ball.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to deal with the competition 3 years older than you.
Right.
2 years older than you and the year older than you. So you got 3 classes you're gonna have to fight with. So
Yeah.
what are we talking about right now?
That was the birth certificate era too, where you see some questionable kids when you go out of state. Like, wait a minute now,
I don't know
see
about
a full
that.
beard over there, and we are 7th graders. What's going on? I need that paperwork, ma'am.
It was like the time. What was the tournament we was in? The Kansas or something. It was like Cole Aldridge's team, and then everybody was tall. Everybody was big except us.
Oh yeah, I think that may have been Arkansas, the real deal on the hill.
Somebody got yammed on that game.
Well then, hold up. You talking about getting banged on like that? The first one that comes to my mind was when we went to Houston, and that happened to Markel, Bartlesville.
That's what it is.
Yeah, man.
That one, yeah.
That was tough, man.
That was man. I still remember that like it was yesterday.
And yeah, the cat from the mean streets of Chicago.
Oh,
that was tough, man. And it was AN1, so the show had to stop.
Yeah, he had to shoot free
let
throw.
it marinate.
Oh my God, it was bad.
It was rough, man. But you had to go through that. But I'm gonna tell you something. One thing that sticks out to me about your plight, particularly during the AAU run, was you were going through growing pains physically.
Yeah.
You were hitting the growth spurt, and you literally had one leg longer than the other.
Mm-hmm.
Man, what was that plight like, dog? Because you were in some serious pain. And I remember your pops was doing stuff like bringing you out to McLean to swim with the swimming team and all types of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Man, let me hear it, brother, because fortunately I didn't have to go through that.
Yeah, man. So around 6th grade, I started growing again, as all 6th graders usually do.
Mm-hmm.
And it was happening too fast.
Yeah.
I just couldn't keep up. All of a sudden, first of all, you're already growing. So
True.
On
Quite
a physical
natural.
status,
Yeah.
you're already behind, right?
Mm-hmm.
You think about the height that comes with that. So not only am I behind on my physicality and just learning the body I already got, now I got to deal with the extra 3 inches, 2 inches that just came with it. And I don't even have that under control. And one leg's growing longer than the other. So there was a whole lot of maintenance of learning how to deal with that and how to correct that. Exercises, posture, swimming, staying off your knees, stuff like that. So it was very, very intriguing to see me in McLean swimming pool swimming laps, before practice.
Yeah. That. Hey, listen, because you work every muscle in your body, and that's
right.
That's the very first thing that coaches take off the table when you go out of town on the AAU tournament. We ain't doing no bunch of swimming. Because kids, we have no control. You know what I mean? We ain't just gonna go out there and take it easy. We gonna jump, cannonballs, dives, everything. But you swimming full laps in there.
I'm doing laps, trying to get this thing for. But I was also too. Finishing my 7th grade year, because I remember we were playing. Me and you both were playing quite a bit.
Right.
Somewhere at the beginning of that 6th grade year, and then we kind of fell off that 7th grade year. Just everybody was kind of doing everyone was kind of growing. Everyone's talent level was kind of doing this and that, and so I got that going on, and I'm growing. So the last thing I'm trying to do is worsen it. So I'm doing everything in my power to not only stay in the fight and try to stay on the floor,
right,
but to figure this out as well. So
I got you. And I remember in your front yard, we used to have a lot of those blacktop battles. You know what I'm saying? Did that stop at that time? Like once you started, was that pretty much the end of that era?
Yeah, no. So After I went through the growth spurt and we finished up 7th grade year, the growing started being a little bit more consistent from then on out, and now it was a little bit more okay. I just had to kind of do a little bit more maintenance on knees and stuff and all that. But that 6th and 7th grade year where that growth spurt came in, it was pretty rough.
It was rough, man.
It was rough. So for all those kids who are complaining about knee problems and stuff, like I hear you, but I don't hear you. So
you got through it.
That's what I'm saying. I'm all right, so you'll be all right.
Man, I'll finish it with this. As far as the AAU chapter goes, we had a core nucleus of guys that finished with us that happened to be the guys that basically started. And I say basically because you take a guy like Will Creekmore. He came in year 2 when we were 6th graders, but he finished. He stayed from 6th throughout. But and so did Trey McVeigh. Once he got there as 6th graders, he stayed throughout. But from the beginning, year 1, it was you, it was myself, Chris Pete,
Marcus Wilson.
Marcus didn't finish with us.
Oh, he didn't finish.
Skip Johnson.
And Skip.
Now, and he was gone for a year, right?
2 years, I thought.
2. You know what I mean? So guys that began and finished, it was you and me and Chris Pete.
Yeah. You
know what I mean? It's a wild thing. But hey man, I love that experience because I tell people all the time, I'm just now getting to the point to where I travel more. But a lot of cities and states, I just wouldn't have got to go and see if it wasn't for running around
that-
playing ball. If it wasn't for the fish fries,
Them fish fries,
and the chicken
man.
fries and the raffles. You
Used
know,
to
all of
love
that.
them.
I'm telling you, the constant overnight stays, man. I had dual residency.
But
man.
that's the parent commitment at that point.
legendary.
I mean, it truly was remarkable. Our parents in general.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think I've seen so many parents sit after practice and talk about practice for like 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Like there'd be 7 kids playing on the outside goal right around the back of McLean where where recess is, while they talking about what just happened 2 hours ago. And it's 7 cars.
It might be a school night.
Right, it's a Thursday, and they're still talking about it. But that was just practice. You talk about the hotel accommodations.
Oh man,
Who's staying in whose room, getting the extra room.
Yep.
You know, like the parents really did the fish fry. Like when I say above and beyond, it truly made our experience. And that's something that I realize now that I'm a coach and seeing that dynamic and how it plays a role. Like it truly, truly made the difference on our growth.
Yeah.
So
We'll roll out there with the Russell uniform or the right L joints, right? Looking very unassuming, and then whoop people's asses.
Hurricane, it's over with.
You know what I'm saying? Okay, so now you get to college, my brother.
I'm there.
You at Texas A&M.
I'm there.
It's definitely a new beginning, and you were telling me something like this, something about the adjustments that you had to make when we were talking about it a couple of weeks ago. You said it took a minute for you to like adjust to the rigors of, or just a regular day of a student athlete. What was a regular day in the life as a college student athlete? Not just any college, but you at the NCAA Division I level.
Yeah, so my freshman year was just eye-opening to see how everything was regimented.
Right.
And I knew your days were going to be booked up, right? I knew, I kind of knew that going into it, but I didn't know how much it would take from you and how soon it would take it from you.
Yeah.
That's the thing I didn't realize, because a month in, and I'm like, fuck, I'm sore, tired. We're just doing individuals right now. It's not even like the full workouts. It
Wasn't official practice yet.
it ain't even official practice yet, and I'm getting my and at this time, Dominique Kirk, Joseph Jones. At this point, I'm playing for the tallest team in the nation. At this point, my freshman year, we were the tallest team in the nation by height across the board. So,
Did you know that then, or this is hindsight?
I knew that then. Like it was a conversation. We just had so much height. It was a lot. And my freshman year, 7 of them were on the floor at any given time, and all of them were above 6'8", 6'9", right? So you got 6'7", some that are playing 2s and 3s, a lot of them are playing 4s and 5s, and then you got some of the smaller guards. And for me, the biggest adjustment was learning how to play with that much height and that much size on the floor. When you're in Texas and you're one of those guards, you see that every day.
Yeah.
There's going to be a 7-footer, 6'11" kid.
We from
It's
Oklahoma,
Texas. That's what I'm saying. We're Oklahoma. There's not a lot of height just floating around here left and right.
Not like
So I'm getting exposed to the amount of just height on the floor, but then the amount of go in everybody. Not from the top from the tall to the small. The amount of just go in these kids, and it's Texas. And that's something that was big for me, because Oklahoma, I was one of the better guys, and obviously we competed.
Yeah.
But
There wasn't that much distance between wherever we were
It
and
was-
whoever the top was.
it was almost a fight every open gym. Just almost like it was F you and throwing balls at each other, and you a bitch. You can't do this, you can't do that. And
Love it.
this is Lil Wayne's mixtapes is out too.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah,
this
yeah.
is heavy. Like
He was sweeping the globe.
Oh my God, it's violent now. So like so there's a lot of animosity in these kids and how they're playing, and that's something the toughness part of it was something that I had to learn to play with all of the time, not some of the time, not just on this possession, not just in this instance, but literally every second you're on the floor, you are full go at somebody's neck, whether it be even if it's the smallest nudge, that nudge better be, you got to make him feel it, because, if you even just, that's soft. And that's just a small scale of the amount of mental focus and toughness that I'm speaking to. And it was just one of those like, I got to be out here and I can't be with no bullshit. Like,
you gotta have that edge.
I got to. And one of the first players, Josh Carter, he was the best shooter on the team, probably the best scorer that I've visibly seen with my eyes. Shout out to Josh Carter. Natural shooter, 6'7", long stroke. Like, you're up for maybe 13 years, 14 years. I think he may still be over there. But
he made a career out of it.
I had to guard him every day. Like,
damn.
Do you know?
No breaks.
Every day. And for those who don't know what it's like getting your ass busted every day.
Daily.
Like, and it wouldn't be necessarily like every time he catches the ball, he's roasting you. Mm-hmm. But you might hold your own this time. You might hold your own that time. But you got to step up and deal with it every time. Mm-hmm. And you're going to break once.
Yeah.
You're going to break twice. But if he gets you third, fourth, and fifth, it's over with.
It's over.
And you can't let that happen. You have to have some fortitude to not let that happen. And
it can't be consecutive. That's what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. You can't be. And that was one of the deals that I had to learn just because that's how everybody played. It was like, you might give me this time. It's cool. But you're going to have to deal with it on this next couple of possessions.
I'm back
That's what I'm saying. I'm back at it here in a second. So deal with that. And that was the biggest thing that I had to deal with. And I finally got the hang of it. But, yeah. It truly, truly is a different level that I don't think my people realize just because they're so used to being around what they're currently around and not what they're about to be around.
Right.
And that's, I think, the biggest eye-opening thing for them. So
when you got on the court in those games, was it very similar to that open gym picture you just painted, or was it an even different and higher level once it was lights are on, the stripes are out there, popcorn's popping?
It was completely different, and I definitely didn't handle it the best I could have because I was a different player. By all the changes that have been happening to me at this point, I had been a completely different player. Yeah. It was, I have to learn to catch up. I'm not good, and a lot of this stuff was self-inflicting. It was, some of it was a little bit of a confidence demeanor on myself, just because Donald Sloan's in the league, DeAndre Jordan's in the league. Yeah. AC Law, who was just there, is in the league. Joe Jones got drafted. Dominique Kirk just went overseas. Chen just went. Just all these players that are getting paid. Like they're talented.
Right.
No
stripes.
I have to deal with that, and then, so.
What's really telling to me, and I only know this because I know you personally. It was tough sledding during your college career. You didn't get a whole lot of minutes and stay on the floor like you did when you were in high school and AAU. So, first of all, how was your ego through all of that? And secondly, how was it not having parents run to your aid and pick up their phone and try to call coach like some of them we see try that today?
Oh, yeah.
You literally had to figure it out.
So, I was staying true to my commitment, which is something that was big to me. You say you're going to do something, you're doing it. So transfer at the time was possible, but a little bit more taboo, a little bit less frequent as it is now. And I didn't really have a reason to transfer. Of course I didn't agree with the coach's decision not to play me as much, but I also know that in my capacity I probably wasn't the best player I should have been, or I wasn't aggressive as I could have been.
Right.
But by the time my junior and senior are going around, I'd already had this mind. Like, coach maybe he just doesn't trust me or whatever. Mm-hmm. So at that point, the whole pressure goes away at that point for me. And now I'm just gonna hoop. So
finish what I started.
I'm just gonna go ahead and just do what I'm doing. Just gonna hoop. And so the freedom kind of came with it, and it actually got me a few more minutes my junior year. Up until I sprained my ankle, then
that don't help.
Yeah, that didn't help. But it really it's one of those deals where the confidence really comes from you. You can't look left and right all the time for they're going to instill it in you. Obviously, it's your teammates.
Right.
But at the same time, a lot of it is what you have. And for me personally, that was something I struggled with because of all the troubles I'd had my freshman and sophomore year trying to play that catch-up role and get in the mix. And so that dampened with me a little bit up until, like I said, my junior year, where I was just like, you know what, whatever's going to happen, it's going to happen at this point. The only thing you can do now is just play some basketball and have fun. If coach don't play you, go bust their ass in practice.
That's what you do.
And that's all it was at that point. Coach didn't play me, cool. Just giving y'all 30 in practice. That's just what it is. So
that's controlling what you can control, right there.
That's all it is.
That's a life hack too, brother.
And yeah, so of course, yeah, you could transfer somewhere, and yeah, maybe probably could have got some more minutes elsewhere, but that's why I'm here now, and that's honestly why I'm coaching, is because I'm a story, of you. It's not just going to be given to you.
Yeah.
You're going to have to do a little bit more than you're comfortable with, or you even know what you're capable of.
Mm-hmm.
You might not even think you can do something, but you're going to have to put yourself through it. And so,
only way to find out.
Exactly. So that's what I did, and that's that's the reason why I stayed. So
here's another interesting fact, though, that maybe some youngsters who aren't so privy to the business wouldn't know. There was a coaching change that took place before you got there, right?
Yeah.
The head coach that was there, who took an interest in you in the first place, right, and recruited you, ended up not being there before you got there. And so his successor evidently didn't see the same thing in you as he did.
Right. And
talk about that grind.
That was a curveball, and still at this point, I probably still could have maybe went to some other schools and stuff, but I had already talked to the people that had previously committed, some of my teammates, and they were like, you know what, I'm not going to change. I'm still going to stay. Mm-hmm. And I had 4 other people in my class that committed to A&M, so we were already kind of getting to mesh as a group and everything. So I was like, I'm not going to be the only one
I feel
that doesn't, honor the commitment. So I was like, I'm going to be in it too. So I hung on and did that deal. But honestly, I don't know if I would have stayed with the previous coach, I don't know if I would have enjoyed it as much or learned as much. Just because I do know I would have gotten that mental toughness just from him. Because the previous coach was very
that was
much,
Gillespie, right?
Yeah, Billy Gillespie. He was definitely much about mental toughness and having players that have that. Because if you can do that, who cares what the X's and O's is? Mm-hmm. If you got the toughness to run it, then you're going to be all right. So
not about the X's and O's, as they say, right? The Jimmys and the Joes.
Right. So that was more of his mantra, and Turgeon was a little bit more details, X's and O's. He was from Larry Brown, so there's a lot of detail that comes from that organization, that kind of tree. So they really honed in on the specifics that, honestly, for now that I'm coaching, it works out.
It's funny. We take things from everybody, right? And create our own philosophy. So when you graduated, like, did you end up going right into the same field of work that your major field of study was?
So I graduated in business, so technically, yeah.
Okay.
I started out as a recruiter in Austin, Texas. Did that for maybe 4 to 6 months. Realized that wasn't for me.
Right. Then
came back to Tulsa. At that point, I've already been socializing with what my next move was with people in Texas. Just doing the career centers and you're filling out your resumes and getting ready for the next chapter in life. What are you going to do? Mm-hmm. And there's obviously, as you're not too many people. Some people do, but there's a lot of people that don't have it figured out by the senior year in college. They're just like, I know I'm graduating with this. I had a plan for this, but it didn't work out.
Right.
I didn't think about the other plan yet. I've still got time. I'll figure that out.
Rerouting is a real thing.
Right. So I was kind of going through a bit of a stage of that, and somebody told me, you're pretty social. You should think about getting to the alcohol business, distributor. And so I kind of played with that a little bit. I was like, you know what, it's not a bad idea. I could probably hang on to that. I'd already been doing a few events for for the boosters and stuff. You have to go here and be representative for the team and shake hands and do
that stuff.
Do the PR stuff. So
stuff you're pretty good at.
Right. So I'd already been doing a few of those things, and so I said, why not? Let's just kind of get into that. So I worked my way up, started from the bottom, just how it was at that company, worked my way up, and then 2018 switched over into wine, which was a big learning curve. And so
I dare say you're a connoisseur now. I mean, folks that are watching this, they can't see what I'm seeing, but I'm telling you, man, you're heavy on the artillery around here, man. So what do we have right here in our glasses, man?
So we have a 3-finger jack rum barrel aged. They sit in a run barrel for an excess number of months or years, just depending on where Brandon is. I'm not exactly sure how long they kept this one in there, but the red blend, so it's got a numerous number of grapes in it. It's come from California. This particular supplier doesn't actually own any of the wine or land of the grapes. They just buy the grapes to make the wine. So really good stuff, though. Is it pretty good?
Oh, it is, man. You said you had number 2. If I wasn't rocking with it, I'd have been like, keep that right there. All right, so now we got to talk about coaching, dog. That's not something that I ever would have attached to you, even though I'm profiling. I'd be like, because I got a pretty good eye for guys that I played with, who I think, he's got the mind and the eye and the ear or whatever else, the it factor. Like, I can see him coaching one day. I didn't see that with you. Not that you couldn't, but I just didn't see that being something that you would even be interested in. So, how in the hell are you coaching, man? And how long you been in it?
So this is year 3 for me.
All right.
But so my nephew, Caden, who's on our team, when he was in the 4th grade, he asked, hey, Uncle, you think about coaching us? You should coach, which realistically makes sense. If you got an uncle that plays basketball and it's, he should probably be involved at some point.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking at that time, like, I'm pretty basketball minded now. I'm a little bit of an adult. I don't know if I can tolerate 4th graders right now. Coaching the mindset that comes with 4th. It's,
I get it, man. That patience is the real thing.
It's patience. You gotta deal with that. And I was like, I don't know if I can deal with that. You holler at me when you turn in 6th grade, and we'll see about it then. So, I think nothing of it. Like thinking that he's gonna let that one go.
Right.
Sure enough, 6th grade year comes around. Hey, it's 6th grade year. You talked about you was going to coach. You're still going to do it. And KJ's dad at that point was like, hey, you should come on, man. Come and join on, help out. And so I thought about it for a few days, few weeks, and I was like, you know what? Why not get back into it? It's been a while since I've been in the game, like in that depth to that level. So I said, why not?
Did it take a minute for you to start loving it?
Nah, it really immediately took a hold because I started associate like you're the team. You're part of the team at that point.
Right.
Although I'm not playing, I'm on the bench, and if I'm on the bench, I feel like I have a stake.
For real. I'm in it now.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm in it. So that alone sends me up a competition road where I don't like losing.
Right.
And so
now we got to prepare.
So now we got issues now because I done lost the game. I'm heated. I didn't even play.
Right.
But at the same time, they're making a bunch of mistakes that I normally, we would have been corrected on pretty quickly on. So I'm thinking, all right, we can just try this, see if we can figure it out. And so I meet the team and it's trying to get comfortable with them, and they start growing, and things start picking up for them. They start learning some things, and you see some of the things you're directly teach them work out positively for them. You're like, okay, maybe I'm not crazy. All right, so that's one. I'm not that bad at giving advice. And then 2, maybe you should stick around because you see how far this can take them. And not necessarily for my sake, but just to see how far I can help them because maybe down the road there may be a time that I don't have any more game to give them. I don't know if that time will come or not. Maybe there is a time.
Yeah.
And if some of these kids are picking up the game so fast that it may happen.
It may happen. Because there is a such thing as you can outgrow leadership.
Yeah.
You can.
You can. It's possible. And as a coach, I know it's a reality, but right now, I know now they're not far away from that point. But,
you weren't giving yourself enough credit.
Right. But they're on the path to do that. And so it's one of those deals where like, you guys going to have to figure this game out, and I'm going to help you out as best I can. And that's kind of how I look at it. It's like, here's what happened to me. Here's how I learned it. Here's what I think you're trying to do. Here's why I think it may not work out. And I'm just saying it a little bit differently than what Coach Gillum, Coach Johnson, or my pops would have said it.
Yeah, that's right.
Which would have been in a different tone.
Yeah, it'd been a different tone. Different tone. Yeah. And it would have gotten across, too, though.
It definitely would have.
So... all right, well, now we got to talk about a couple of things. You are the head coach now, right, of Team Trey Young Elite 2026. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay, and yes. I'm on the staff with you. We're doing it together. It's a joint effort. But any pressure at all that you feel being under such a big name where we sort of have to do well in order for us to in order for us to stay in position?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, when we lose games, it's a thing. You know, Trae Young is an athlete. He's a talent. You know, he paid millions of dollars. You know,
one of the best in the business.
He's got his new release. So you know, you go travel across the state lines. You know, somebody who hasn't seen our 2026 team, they're like, I'm trying to get them. That's a name right there.
Right.
You know, Bradley Beal Elite. You know, all these other teams that you see that have these reputable names.
Yep.
You immediately perk up. You immediately perk up as another team. Shit, we used to do it. We were Tulsa Titans. We used to see all these teams with Reebok, Adidas, shoe deals.
They're supposed to be somebody.
Right. And you immediately perk up and you're going to give them your best shot. You know, and that's something that they have to realize, my 8th graders have to realize. We're going to continuously get everybody's best shot.
Yeah.
You know, and as a coach, I'm prepared for that. You know, that's just kind of comes with it. You know, but while I feel the pressure, I'm not wavering to it. Just, you know, that is what it is. It's either I'm gonna bust or I'm gonna become a diamond.
I feel that. And ain't that a great space to be in when you finally get to the point to where you realize that this quote unquote pressure exists, but you just lean in.
Yeah,
as opposed to
I'm not gonna. Right.
Let's find out.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not now.
Too invested now.
Right. I'm 33 years old. What do I need to be stressed or panicked about? This is basketball. I know this.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know everything, but I know enough to get me a scholarship, damn it. That's gotta count for something.
For sure, man. And we got some talent too, man.
We do. We have a couple names that we keep an eye out for down the line, but just got to get better, man. We just got to figure it out. Just keeping our heads down and realizing, like you said, we're going to continuously get everybody's best shot for as long as we're playing.
How much of your days are you spending on basketball? Because like, you constantly hitting us in the group with different reels on Instagram, with different motivational quotes that you're hearing from notable figures, whether it's sets, workout routines. And I'm like, yo, my man, the switch stays on always, man.
It never turns off. If you really truly about basketball, that's how it's supposed to be. Like if you want those, I understand those people who like to, you know, decompress and take some time away. I get that. I understand that. I even try to do that. Yeah. But even when I try to do it, it ain't gonna happen. Yeah. I'm still gonna be wheels are gonna be turning. You know, if that's the personality you need to have. Yeah. You know, you need somebody who's always thinking about basketball because that's what these kids need to see. If they're matching me or surpassing me, then I know they got to be in a good spot down the line. Like,
facts.
You know, I watched the game for the 3rd time at like 3 a.m. last night. You know, like just thinking, what did I mess up on? You know, as a coach, obviously that's the first thing you ask.
See what you can learn.
Where did I mess up on? Because it's never the kid's fault. At the end of the day,
players win, coaches lose.
Right.
We know this.
Yeah, that's just how it is. And so it's got to be, okay, what do I need to do to get them going? And that beats me up, especially when you see the answer and you try to get it and it doesn't turn over right, you know? And that's the beautiful thing about basketball is like you have to learn to figure that out.
Yeah.
You know, if you can figure that out, then you're going to go places, not only in your basketball life, but think about career-wise, like unsolvable problems. If I can get some 8th graders who refuse to box out to finally dig in to box out, I gotta have some sort. That's got to be transferable somewhere else.
Come on, man.
Gotta be.
That's perspective.
Like 8th graders of all, like.
Come on, man. I got
to
high
box
schoolers
out.
who still won't do it.
That's what I'm saying. If I can get them to buy in and boxing out, and be like, man, your boys box out.
And I'm like, thank you.
Yeah,
I have no idea how long it took to get them.
Right. That's a skill that's got to be transferable in some other avenue of life. So I just try to think of it that way.
For sure. Coming down toward the end, man. Speaking of, you touched on the word decompression. Outside of this basketball grind, your hobbies, man, what can you be found doing in some of your downtime that has nothing to do with sports? If there is such a thing.
It really isn't, bro.
No.
It really isn't. I mean, this basketball grind has been it. You know, we're practicing twice a week, and then we're going on weekends.
Yeah.
And from a head coach's standpoint, I'm thinking not only about, you know, this weekend's tournament, but I'm thinking about MSI, the fact that we're going to be down a certain number of players and we're going to have to figure out how to rally. Obviously, you're going to be gone, you know, that weekend. So, you know, there's a whole lot of down the line and planning that consistently kind of goes with it, you know. after it. But after that 8 months is up, I'm gonna probably take myself on a little trip, something.
Yeah,
I'm
take
gonna try it.
myself.
Yeah.
I like that. You know, a guy that we both know, Terry Scott. He would always tell me that you don't know you need a break until you take one.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, so last two questions. You've given them quite a bit of pub throughout this conversation, but never as the focal point. So talk about the influence of your parents, your mother and your father, who I happen to know and who I love as if they were my own parents. Mother's an educator, right? And your father's a retired police officer.
Yeah.
And they both, it ain't no such thing, at least from my vantage point, of good cop, bad cop with them. It was bad cop, worst cop. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause both of them coming down hard on you. But it was love, though. It was, and it is. You know what I mean?
Always will be.
Yeah, and your mother got some of the best breakfasts out there. But anyway, so talking about the love, man.
Man, it's with them. It's always about being humble, showing humility.
Right.
You know, and even with this blessing of being on this podcast, it's still, you know, it really is one of those deals that you have to remain humble and realize like it's not about you. It's always a bigger picture, you know, and that's something that I keep with because, you know, you've seen it. We're our first house. You know, to where my parents live now. It's been a gradual grind and you know, it's been every time they try to take another step to advance themselves, and it's been working for them. And it took them our whole lives basically to get to this point. You know, you've seen what they were and you've seen where they are now, and it's just
that little house used to be booming though.
That's what I'm saying.
Everybody over there.
But and they didn't lose track of their humility and any stretch of it all. It's always been there. The door's always been open. Everyone's been open, and that's something they've been big with us is don't lose all your shit that you get now. Immediately be taken away. You know, the only reason why you're getting it now is because you have been blessed. You know, if you show that humility and humbleness, you may be able to keep it. But the moment you start showing out and change your attitude and switch up who you are and what you've been known to do,
get the recipe.
It's going to be taken away from you. And they point out example left and right. You know, my dad being a police officer, my mom being a teacher. They see examples every day. You know, you want to be like your so and so. You want to be like so and so. You want to be like so and so. You're heading down the same path they are. Tell me what's different from what you're doing than what they're different, and I'll believe you. And then you think about it, and you're like, you know what? You're right.
Made a couple good points there, Mom.
You're right. You can't do anything. You're right. You're right. So I mean, shout out to my parents, man, because honestly, I wasn't as frequent with them in my earlier 20s, just being a 20-year-old, being super aggressive. But as I got in a little later 30s, you know, you really, truly, you know, you still have your parents, you know, just
it's a blessing.
Always stay around, man, because it truly is a blessing. So
a lot of guys that we came up with didn't have both of them.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. We still got both of them, still hanging on. So
it's a trip how the relationship evolves now too, because we need them still, but we just need them differently. I don't necessarily need allowance every week, but I do need them to pour into me sometimes.
Yeah, especially because I call Dad all the time. What do you think I need to do about this, coaching wise? Like, should I do this? Should I do that? Or this is what's happened, and he's always been brutally honest about whatever and whenever. So he was
Mr. Direct.
Right, and I call him about work, I've been thinking about firing somebody, X, Y, and Z. I have all the steps for. Do I need to pull the trigger? You know, and he'll say, "Well, son, blah 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 blah." You know, it's either this or that.
Yeah.
So, shout out to my parents, man.
Gotta love it. Last one. Think back, man. We'll take us back to the court. At any level, a team that beat you that wasn't supposed to beat you.
That damn Ida Bell team, shit.
Oh man, okay. You didn't hesitate.
Without a question.
Oh, so that's the one you're gonna go back to and run it back.
Man, bro, that let's see, what else shit I want about. We're talking about from a coach's standpoint. There's a few games from a coach's standpoint we definitely need to run back.
Okay. I'm not gonna limit you to one, obviously.
Nah. There's that we need to run that back. And what other game we lost? UCLA, my freshman year. We lost to UCLA in the NCAA tournament to a bad foul call that was never called.
So it was a no call.
It was a no call.
Left you hanging.
Bro, you know what? I'm not going to go into it. I want that one back for sure. UCLA, my freshman year, and Ida Bell my sophomore year. Those 2 games, I need those back.
So he hit me with the high school level and the college
Yep,
level.
I need
love
those back.
that. Well, brother, I'm glad that we got to sit here and chop it up on this platform. We talk all the time, but you definitely
sir.
a name has been on my list for the last several weeks, maybe even a couple months, and we finally were able to get everything aligned to where we did it.
Yes,
So
sir.
we're gonna keep rocking with these young bulls
Yes, sir.
and see what we can make out of this AAU experience.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you having me on. You both. Yeah, it's great experience all around, man. I truly appreciate it.
For sure. Salute.
Yes, sir.